Anyway, he was a Notre Dame graduate. I'm very lucky to go to Notre Dame, and I think, as often as we talked about it in his life, those were four of the most important and joyful years of his life. And we went back for his 50th reunion just a couple of years ago. That would have been 2004. We went to his 50th Notre Dame reunion, and that was a lot of fun. I'm glad he got to see that. He was demanding, brilliant. As a professor, he was brilliant. And that's how I first knew him. He was good-looking, with the biggest eyes I've seen, and just sort of forceful in his look. He was very, very funny. He made me laugh. I was not prone to laughing that much. I was a very serious student. I spent a lot of time in the library and in rehearsal and studying. And he made me laugh. And yet, because my own background was as a professional child, singing and dancing and doing that sort of thing, I knew good when I saw it. So I knew that as a taskmaster, as a director, he was the best I had yet worked with. And I had worked with a lot. So I had extreme respect for his talent. And I think that was kind of in awe of that. He was good.
How was it different? Like, how did he...
His ideas, his imagination. He was so creative. His sense of timing was impeccable. His inventing business for characters was daring. All those things, and he would push you to the limit. He would say things to you that I would think, I would cringe sometimes hearing notes, things he would say to other actors. Not me. But no, that's not even true. But sometimes I would hear him give notes to other actors, and I would think, oh my God, oh, that hurts. But it would get better. The play would get better. And he would rehearse and rehearse and rehearse till long into the night until it was where he wanted it to be. Sometimes we went up on stage and the stage was still wet from paint and stuff. He took it to the limit. He worked as hard as he asked anyone else to work. And I appreciated that. He did.
Was he the happiest there, or?
No, he was, in the theater. He was the happiest in the theater. He would live, eat, breathe. We would go home and he would block. He would do all the blocking. We'd play Puccini and musical comedies endlessly, loudly, and block. And that's all he did. And I would very often, some of my happiest times I remember are helping him with, we'd schlep everything down to the theater, and I sew, so I would help out with costumes or sound or whatever else needed to happen. In a lot of these books behind me, you'll see notes. If I was running the sound or lights or telephone or whatever it was, I see my handwriting in there sometimes about the blocking, what we were supposed to do. I loved helping because I loved being on the other side of the footlights too and watching everything come together. I never got tired of watching him shape a show because it was, there were one or two duds in 30-some years, but they were few and far between. And I think he was honest with his students. If he didn't like a performance or if someone had a beef with him and they approached him about it or confronted him, he would tell you exactly what he thought. And I have gotten so many nice words from former students to say exactly that, what an impact their experience at King's in the theater department had on their lives. And I think that's the greatest tribute you can give to a person. So I think the summer theater, when you wrap it all up, where it was the most relaxed and creative and happy, was the summer theater for about 5 years that he directed. And he could do he could do whatever he wanted, sort of. So we did musicals, we did Cole, and a lot of students and alumni were in that. When students and alumni could mix together, when he could pick and choose his cast, those were some really strong casts. That he saw or that he directed? His least favorite was Rough Crossing. The very last show he directed was his absolute least favorite. He didn't have a favorite. Every time he was working on it, it was a favorite. But he loved to direct Shakespeare, and we both have a fondness for The Tempest. He did that twice. Both shows, both of those were brilliant.
Did he change, or was he still...
No, it wasn't that. It was just that when he came home and wasn't directing, I mean, if he wasn't directing a show, he would be, he was a very good dad. You know, he was a good father, and so his children were important in his life, and he loved to, be with them. The J. Gerald Godwin Library is an idea I had. This wonderful shelf was here already at Arts Universe, so I thought what better, and so close to King's, what better way to make use of it than to fill it with some resource material that we went to often, that he used often. He saved every program from every show he ever saw. I have read a fair number of these plays and books throughout the years, and I know I won't read them again, and since this is an arts resource Arts Universe Center anyway. I thought, what greater tribute to him than to have these pages opened again and read. I have a photocopier, so anyone is free to come over and, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but read what they like here, or copy some information to take with you. Right now it's not cataloged, so I can't let the books go out, but you're welcome to read any and all of it. I think he would have loved that his books and notes that are in the books would be seen by anybody who gives a damn about the theater. So it's here.
I'm just trying to think of.
I'm not more or less passionate. I'm thrilled for the opportunity to have known him and loved him, because it was rich. It was up, it was down, it was rich. It was never boring, and he was just an intensely creative man, and I think because of the way he thought, which was not like the way I think. I'm linear most of the time. I learned how to brainstorm. I learned how to look for the unusual thing. And Shalene, of course, is at King's in the theater department, trying to fill the shoes of her father, or maybe putting on a new pair of shoes. He'd like that better. New pair of shoes. Well, one of them, Santo LaCosta, who's now famous scene designer in New York, Santo and Jerry worked, I think, Santo is an incredible talent, and I think talent that finds other talent, you connect. There's some kind of spark there that happens, and that became a lifelong friendship with Mr. Wagner, too, Carl Wagner, whom you probably didn't know. They were there at the same time. Just things like, even people who did not go on to careers in the theater have written recently to say the experiences that we had in the theater, the way he worked, his discipline, his sense of self and his sense of humor, and his passion for what he did influenced the way they lived their lives. And that's great. I don't know that I've had that many, other people in my life that I can say that have done that for me. Have you? Think about who's been a big player. He would be proud of his daughter Shalene in her position there. He is very proud of all of his kids and what they've done. But ultimately, it's not the theater. It's to be happy. Ultimately, he wants everybody to make the choice that's going to make them happy. And whatever you do, do it well. And don't, as an audience member, he wants to educate the audience. He would love to have an enlightened audience who know not to use their cell phones, not to chew gum, not to just sit like you're in a movie theater. The magic of the theater deserves respect. So if he would say anything, that would be it. He used to get so irritated with blue cell phone light next to him when we'd be sitting in a theater. It's awful.
I won't send roses or hold the door. I won't remember which dress you wore. My heart is too much in control. The lack of romance in my soul will turn you gray, kid. So stay away, kid. Forget my shoulder when you're in need. Forgetting birthdays is guaranteed. And should I love you, you would be the last to know. I won't send roses, and roses suit you so.